Today, my guest is Dee, the Stacy's mum in Stacy's Mum's podcast. She hid her non-belief of the existence of God for 30 plus years. And today we're going to hear a little bit about her journey. Welcome, Dee, to the Stacy's Mum's podcast. Welcome, Dee, from the Stacy's Mum's podcast to Deep Drinks podcast.
Oh, I was going to say, did I take over your podcast?
You're totally welcome to.
Well, hello, everybody.
We have some awesome people here. Pragmatic Crystal, Tom, who's my very inappropriate friend, Dr. Cheryl, Aaron Colson, the Stacy's Mum's podcast is here. It's so great to see everyone. It's we know a little bit about each other, Dee, but I don't think I've ever had a full overview of your journey, and that's what we're going to do here today.
Okay.
But first, before we do that, what are we drinking?
Well, I think I might be your first guest with 2 drinks.
I think you are. You might be.
Yeah. So starting out with beautiful Savignon Blanc from look at that.
Got the exact same
from
one.
New Zealand. Yeah.
One says lighter. What does that mean?
Oh, what the heck is that?
Cool and fragrant.
Oh, that looks interesting.
Huh.
That's not available here. I have never seen that here.
Huh.
But this is the very first Savignon Blanc I ever tried. And it's the one that turned me on to Savignon Blancs. And so it's a Kiwi Savignon Blanc. And this is something that I drink all the time. Not necessarily this particular brand. I do drink it, but I drink a lot of ginger's my very favorite flavor of kombucha. And I just drink this all the time just because it's good for me. So I'm going. Awesome. So when I pick up the peach colored cup, that's what I'm drinking. And when I pick up my You're on the Wine with Jimmy and Matt glass.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's my Savignon Blanc. So
well,
double fisting.
I actually asked Amy to get kombucha and she forgot. So after I screamed at her for about 5 or 6 minutes.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Sure,
you did.
I came out last night and I was like,
yeah.
Oh, did you get kombucha? Because I forgot to get kombucha. And then she's like, I'll get kombucha. So anyway, but she's at the store right now getting some nappies for us on Atlas. And she's like, I can get kombucha. I was like, bring it in. Bring the kombucha. So mine's in transit. But that's
one of my heroes in life is my sister-in-law, Naomi. She makes kombucha. So I haven't made it that far in life yet, but I live with my daughter and my son-in-law, and I don't think there's anywhere here in the house. I don't think we have room to make kombucha. So one day when I finally have my own home again, maybe I'll make kombucha.
Yeah.
Oh, she's here. She's here. She's here. She's in the chat. She makes
who? Sorry,
Naomi King. That's my sister-in-law who makes.
Oh, hello.
She's like my hero. Yeah, she's here.
Do you know that? I came out the other day and I was like, I told Amy 2 things. I go through phases of getting really into things. At one stage, I had 60 plus plants, chili plants. No, not 60 plus. 60 plus species of chili plants in my backyard.
Oh yeah, you were making
over 300 actual plants. It was not. We live in our block is meters from the fence, from our house to our fence. It was silly. You couldn't walk anywhere. But now I came out the other day and I was told Amy 2 things. I was like, 1, I'm going to start collecting ancient coins. She's like, why? And I was just like, because it's cool.
Why did you do that?
You know how Jesus said, who's on that coin? And then it's Nero.
Yeah.
Give back to Nero what is Nero's, or was it
back to Caesar? Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, imagine having one of those coins. That'd be so cool. I don't know. It's just so much history in that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is I wanted to start making my own mead, old fashioned.
Oh, yeah.
I've never even tasted mead, but it's that's just a cool drink to make.
That's something that is right up my brother and sister-in-law's alley too. So you need to get over here and visit.
I definitely need to.
Yeah, you do.
Well, I often like to start the conversation about deconstruction with the question, what kind of Christian were you? When you were a Christian, were you diehard? Did you speak in tongues? Did you believe you had a relationship with Jesus? What type of Christian were you?
That's what I was taught. So I was taught to say, when people would say, "So are you religious?" We were taught to say, "No, I'm not religious. Even Satan is religious. I have a relationship with Jesus." That's what we were taught to say. Like saying that we were religious was an insult. No, we were not. We weren't religious, because even Satan was religious. So the word religion was something that we didn't say.
We
We
yeah,
were.
we were saying we didn't have like I used to say Christianity wasn't a religion; it's a
That's
relationship.
exactly right. That's exactly right. It's a
Yeah.
relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was taught to say, and we said it. And then, well, what denomination are you? And we were very proud to say, well, we're non-denominational. But really, we were Pentecostal.
Yeah,
We were as
that's
close.
like
Our non-denomination was as Pentecostal as you can get. So holy rollers, rolling in the aisles, crazy, hands in the air, speaking in tongues. The church services that went for hours and hours and hours, like the churches that were scheduled, like we're in at 9 and we're out by 10:15. Our pastors made fun of those kind of churches, because you cannot control the Holy Spirit. You don't control anything. You let the Spirit lead, and there was just no such thing as a schedule. So the longer the better, as far as people were concerned. And as long as the Spirit wanted the service to go on, that's how long the service went on. It was crazy, and I hated it. I hated how long the services were. I hated how long the services were.
I
And
know.
the praise and worship was just like pure and utter torture for me. It was brutal, just brutal. Absolutely. I would try to get there late for praise and worship. And if I got there and they were still singing the clapping songs, I was like, oh my God, because if I got there and they were singing the slow songs, that was great, because then I knew we were getting close to at least sitting down. Oh my God.
The standing was
Anyway,
brutal.
yeah, the standing was just awful. And we would get chastised for sitting down at a lot of the services. I remember one church we went to, we actually got yelled at for sitting down. One guy said, "There will be no lawn chairs in heaven. You will not sit down in heaven." It's like, oh my God, you make it sound so amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
that's so, woo.
Yeah, it was
like, can I bring one? Like, I don't know. We had this group in church. I've told this story a bunch of times, but I call them the Bethelers. Everything was Bethel. Every other church fell short. They weren't weren't good enough, etc., etc. And I remember one of the youth talking about, like, oh, we went to a Bethel conference that came to Brisbane, and they just started the night with 3 hours of worship. And I'm like, ugh.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
as a Christian, I'm like,
kill me now.
Oh, I can worship in my car by myself. Like, I'll have long worship sessions. Sure, I'll pray and worship and lie down and stuff. But like in the congregate, like I didn't understand it.
I didn't
understand it at all.
No, my daughter loved it, as you've probably heard her say in many of her interviews. That was her favorite part. I just hated it. I hated it. I never liked it.
Oh, that's not good. So, oh no. So okay, two things. First is the time that Stacy came on Deep Drinks podcast. We're having technical difficulties because of the internet, and today we were also having technical difficulties from my end. But what happened was they also told me that every street in the neighborhood besides theirs had lost power, so they might just disappear at a random time. So I hope that's not what's happened. Oh no, it looks like he's back.
Okay. No. We all lost the internet here. I told you, we should have said at the beginning, we've been power outages here in the neighborhood. So that was scary. We're good?
Yeah, nobody's online. So.
Okay, good. Okay.
Get behind me, Satan, to Tom. So we have a super chat. I normally leave these for the end, but this isn't a question. This is just a statement. Thank you for a $20 super chat from Patrick.
Oh, okay. You know who that
Two of my
is.
favorite people. Thank you so much.
Patrick is my brother from another mother.
I get these like amazing long audio messages from Patrick, and I like save them up. I'm like,
yes,
all right, time to like have because he's so encouraging and so nice and has some, you know, and talks.
I want to say hi to Kip. He says he's leaving. He'll come back and watch later. Hey, Kip.
Hey, Kip.
Hey. Glad you're here, and sorry you got to leave, but hi. Okay, so
back to before Satan tried to pull down the stream.
Actually,
oh God.
Yeah, I was gonna say Satan would love us if he was real.
So yeah, where we're at. So we're talking about like you hated the
I hated it all. Yeah, when I was a kid, my mom would take us to tent revival meetings that would just go late into the night, and I was fascinated as a little kid to see all the crazy stuff going on because I saw crazy stuff. People falling out in the spirit and laying all over the place, and the crazy preachers. I remember so many. I don't want to name any just in case they're still alive. I don't want to get in trouble, but anyway, I just saw a lot of crazy stuff. But the other thing that I witnessed as a child was there was times when my mom was a crazy Christian and we're going to church like mad. And then I saw her, what we would call backslidden and not going to church. And it was just so back and forth and on and off. And it was just, I don't know, nothing was ever consistent. So it was hard for me to truly sink my teeth in and just see consistency. So I had a lot of inconsistency in my childhood. I didn't have a great childhood. I really didn't. I don't know how deep we're going to go here, but I had a lot of really awful things happen in my childhood at the hands of the adults that were in charge of me. A lot of really awful things. I don't think this is the place to really go into that, but the worst things you can imagine happened to me. Abandonment, abuse, a lot of really not good things happened. So I witnessed my mom. At one point, we lived in a townhouse with a lot of the Jesus people. And so I was put through, what's it called? What's it called when they cast demons out of you? I've lost the word.
So have I, but I know what you mean. It's
like the priest did it to the woman, the exorcism, an exorcism. Yeah. I was put through an exorcism as a 9-year-old, and that was traumatic. Just all I remember is just laying on the floor and having all these adults around me and just praying in tongues and screaming and yelling and just, yeah, it was just, it was traumatic.
Whoa. Okay. Whoa. So when you say you went through an exorcism, the types of exorcisms that kind of we would do in my church were like, if the spirit called us to pray for someone and then it just kind of happened. Was this like an organized thing? Because
this just happened, and it was in the townhouse we lived in, and I don't even know what brought it on. I have no idea. But
did you have any physical manifestations? Like, were you shaking or anything like that? Or?
I just remember just laying there and adults just saying, okay, what do you see in your head now? What pictures are you seeing? Did you see anything? And I don't even remember too much, just laying there. And it went on for quite some time. And I was just scared. And this was when my mom had, I had just come, she had came, and this is getting deep. Yeah.
Take a big sip.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to. I have 2 siblings, a brother and a sister, and we had been not with her for a year or more. And she had come and taken us. My sister and I were on our way to school. We were walking to school, and she'd come and literally snatched us off the street with a man I didn't know and threw us into the car. and then got us to direct her to where we were living at the time. And we went and got my little brother from the apartment we were staying in, and we snatched him, and then she zipped us off to the next province over. And that's when we ended up in this townhouse with all these Jesus people. And that's where the exorcism was performed on me. So
who kidnapped you? Or essentially
my mother and her then boyfriend, who I'd never met before.
took you. You never met the boyfriend?
No, I'd never met the boyfriend before. She was with a man that I didn't know. And yeah, that was the beginning of just a few more crazy years. She didn't stay with him for very long. She went on to another boyfriend. And yeah, it was a fun childhood. I've got a lot of stories, but anyway.
That's in, like, just going through like a traumatic exorcism like that, or an exorcism at that age is wild. I had a friend, she was the children's pastor at the old church I went to, and I remember she posted on Facebook that her daughter, age 5 or 6, had a dream, and the dream was Satan and God were running circles around her in the dream, and they were saying, "Pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me."
Oh my God.
And she woke up and she asked her mum, what is this? And she was like, "Oh," and her mum was like, "Oh, well, that's God calling you to a life of following him, blah, blah, blah." But when I read that, I was like, that's pretty traumatic. Like, imagine as a kid, you're trying to work out what the world's all about. You're getting told that for yourself, you have demons in you that need to come out, that are controlling you, that there's the powers of Satan and the powers of God, and Satan is very good at tricking people, and so you got to be careful. Like, it's terrifying. It gives me goosebumps. It's like I hate it. It's
this was the same year, I believe, Jesus Christ Superstar came out. I'm old. I turned 60 next month, so this was 1973, and then I think the next year Jesus Christ Superstar came out, if I'm not mistaken, because I was born in 64. So I was 1973. This happened. I was 9, and then and then it was like a year or two later. My mom wasn't an on fire Christian, and she was with someone else, and we didn't go to church. So we had a couple years of no church and God not being mentioned at all. She was living a different lifestyle, and then a couple years after that was back. Actually, she started sending us to church on the Sunday school bus, and that was a Pentecostal church, and we were getting just sent off to Sunday school because she was going out on Saturday night, staying up late, and just wanted us out of the house on Sunday mornings. And so, like, not a lot of consistency is what I'm saying, So I just felt, I don't know, it just never felt consistent. So there wasn't like there was ever a real, it just never felt really, really real. But I always had the indoctrination of hell. So the only thing that ever kept me between the guardrails was a fear of hell. So throughout my entire childhood and teenagehood, I was a pretty good kid. I was pretty good. I didn't party. I didn't drink. I didn't do drugs. I ended up quite young having a boyfriend, and I did get pregnant at 17, and I did marry him. And so that was my biggest sin, was premarital sex. And then I married him, and we had a stillborn child, and we stayed married. And then I had my 2 children that I have now. And
hang on, the camera is just, hang on. Uh-oh. That's not good. Hopefully she comes back. Oh, you're back. Okay.
Oh, we're having a real issue here.
It's every time. It's same with, this has happened with Stacy as well.
Mute that.
Oh,
Yeah. and the sound.
Oh, sorry.
Stacy's helping.
Thanks, Stace.
So
I got to take a shot every time we lose you, D. That's the rules now. Thank you.
you'll never lose me, David. I'm yours. So consistently, the only thing that was ever consistent for me in my brain was the fear of hell. That's it. That's it. I don't know why. I can't explain it. So all I knew was I believed in hell. And I believed that if I wasn't perfect, I'd go to hell. That's it. So I just tried everything to just do my best to be perfect, because if I died when I went to sleep or I got into a car, my biggest fear was when I would go have surgery. If something happened during surgery, that I'd go to hell. I had this stupid fear of hell. And the biggest thing was I would bargain with this God that I didn't believe in and be like, I'm so sorry I don't believe in you, but I can't help it. I'm so sorry. I don't even know why I'm talking to you. I don't believe in you, but oh my God, but I'm just so scared of hell. It was so weird. It was just so weird. And I answered so many altar calls trying to rededicate my life and just like, I'm really trying. Like, I'm trying. If you're there, I'm trying. Like, you've got to help me. There's got to be a way for you to prove to me that you're there. And I don't think there's anything wrong with me asking you if you're actually there and you do truly love me. There's got to be a way for you to prove, because you are seeing how this is eating me alive. I'm trying to do everything. I'm trying to be the perfect wife, the perfect mother, and every so often I would just have like a breakdown and fall apart. And I had a couple of breakdowns in my life, and people would be like, what the fuck is wrong with her? Like, she's not behaving like herself. They had no idea I had this inner battle going on. And it was like, I just want to be perfect, so when I die, I don't go to hell. That was my biggest thing. I don't want to go to hell. And I was like, publicly, I was like this stringent Christian. And it was so weird because I had a couple of friends over the years, one in particular I'm thinking of right now. And it was within the last decade. And she used to take me out for lunch, and she would sit across the table from me. And she was this sweet lady who her husband was a deacon in their church. And they were some denomination that we wouldn't have thought was even saved. They were really progressive. I don't know, like Lutheran or something.
Yeah.
But she would sit across the table from me, and she'd just say, I just want you to know that your faith has just helped me grow to be a better Christian. You are such an inspiration to me. I just want you to know that you have made me a better Christian. And I would sit there smiling at her thinking, oh my God, I am such a phony. I am such a fake. Oh my God, I don't even believe. And how the fuck have I helped this woman become a better Christian? I am such a fake. I'm going to go to hell. I'm going to go to hell because I'm such a fake. I was just dying inside. Because I hadn't believed since my daughter was 5. Because here's when I stopped believing for real. We lived here in the town that we live in now. I went to an evangelist's week-long meetings, and this one night he said, come back tomorrow night expecting your miracle. Medical miracles are going to happen. And if you believe, it's going to happen. So I believed my eyesight was going to be healed, because I've worn glasses since I was 9 years old. And
it's the exorcism.
Yeah, right. and I knew that I knew that God was going to heal me, because I just believed. I just knew, okay, if that's all it takes, I just have to believe God. Okay. So we drove from the town we live in here, 40 minutes south to where the meetings were taking place. And I just knew, oh, okay, if we're going to this healing thing, I'm going to come home And I'm not going to need glasses anymore. And I just believed, I just knew this is it. And because that's when I was a real believer. And I went to the meetings that night and I went up for prayer and nothing happened. That was the night I stopped believing. And we were driving home. I didn't drive at the time. I didn't have my license, but my mom was driving home and I just remember sitting in the back seat with my kids and I was devastated. I was crying. I had tears just flowing down my face. And I was like, this is all crap. None of this is real, because I had so much faith. I was so excited the whole day. I just knew that I was going to be able to see without glasses. I'd be able to go swimming in the lake and not have to wear glasses, because I don't swim or anything, because once I take these glasses off, David, I can't see. I don't go swimming. There's a lot of things I don't do because I can't even get contact lenses. My astigmatism is so bad. Contact lenses don't even fit for me. I can't get laser surgery because I have such dry eye. So I have to wear glasses all the time. And my lenses cost $500 a piece. So it is so expensive for me to get glasses. So that's when I knew. And here I was. Stacy was 5, so I was only 25 years old. And I knew no one that I could talk to. I was just like, because we were taught if you're not healed from something, it's because you didn't have enough faith. And I knew that wasn't true, because I knew I had enough faith. I believed. No one could tell me it was a faith issue. No one could tell me.
That always bothered me too, because Jesus says that faith the size of a mustard seed, which
that's exactly what I said to myself.
Smallest amount of faith. Yeah.
That's right.
Can move a mountain.
That's right.
It's I remember when I was a new Christian, very new Christian, a friend of mine, his mum was suffering from cancer, asked me to pray, terminal cancer, asked me to pray for her. I did. I was just like, that's a wrap. Like, she's good now. Like, I actually was like that naive to believe that we prayed. God said, if we ask for bread, he's not going to give us a stone.
That's right.
How much more, how Heavenly Father cares for us.
Yeah.
And then a few months later or a few weeks later, I hadn't heard from him for a while. Called him up. Just hanging out with my family at the moment because my mum died.
Yeah.
I was like, and I was actually shocked. I was standing in the McDonald's car park and I was shocked. We were hanging there after church or something, and I was like, "What?" And I'm so glad I didn't suggest this, but part of me was like, "Should we pray over her body? Like, what can we to like raise her from the dead?" Because like I was so confused.
Yes.
Why we prayed for something. The Bible clearly says that if you pray for healings and stuff, it'll happen. It was very confusing. It was very confusing. And when I asked pastors and stuff about why it didn't happen or why anything didn't happen, they would say, "You know what? We can ask him when we get there." Like,
exactly, David.
And you're like,
fucking answer like that for every thing. Okay, so I have so many people that say to me, "But you were like the most strongest Christian I know. How can you say you weren't a believer?" Stacy and I interviewed Sidney Davis Jr. recently, and she made me realize why.
Oh, no.
She made me realize why. Are you losing?
It's going. Oh, damn it. Oh, hey, gonna take a shot. Every time we lose Stacy, I've got a drink. I mean, not Stacy. Oh my gosh, D. Every time we lose D, I've got a drink. Oh, I'm bad enough at misspeaking, but when I drink, it's even worse.
I'm just trying to get you drunk.
Well, you know what I realized? What? This lighter version is 25%. 25% less alcohol.
You're drinking water. You're just drinking water. Okay, so we're obviously having issues around here because we've had power outages and stuff. So I apologize, everyone, but it's not my fault. See, that's what I do. I apologize. I'm Canadian too, so I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay, so
and I'll go, no, she's left again.
No. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, Sidney Davis Jr. She said that when she was deconstructing, that's when she came on so powerful, like posting more scriptures on Facebook, and she came on with her like, so I realized like that's how I was.
Oh, wow.
And I was like that. Like I was like,
Mm.
that's horrible. But I think I was trying to convince myself. But behind closed doors, I was saying to Stacy, I was tiptoeing to Stacy. So when you pray, do you really believe your prayers are heard and they're going to be answered? Trying to find a crack in the armor. And she'd say, oh yeah, I do. Oh, okay. And I'd tiptoe back. And I did that more than once. And I remember the last couple of years in my last marriage to my good husband, not the husband I've done a show on who's dead and was a monster, but my good husband. We're not married now, and it's not because he wasn't good, but I said to him, we're still friends. He's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
I said to him a few times, I don't really believe in God. And then he would be like, you can't say that. You can't say that. We're Christian. I'd say, okay. And I would retreat back into my shell. I did try with people that I trusted, but I didn't have anyone that I could really go to and say, I don't believe in God. I really had no one. And I remember I only met one man who said he was an atheist, and he was actually the landlord of the last house I rented in the last house I lived in with my last husband. And he sat on the couch and very confidently said, I'm an atheist. And I looked at him and went, but he just looks normal. And he's a really nice man. He rented us a house that he could have got, oh my God, $4,000 a month for. And because he liked me so much, I put an ad on Craigslist that we needed a house. And we were in extenuating circumstances. He gave it to us for like $800 a month just because, and it was fully furnished. It was fully furnished. And we were in such a bad way at that time.
Yeah.
And he sent pictures of the house. He goes, I have a house you can rent. And he sent us pictures of the executive home. And I went, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to afford this. And he goes, oh, no, I'm sure we could work something out. And I went, oh my God, no. And I just went, I don't know this guy. He's never going to know. He's never going to meet me. And I typed out exactly what was going on in our life. And he got halfway through my email and he was crying, he said, and he went to his wife and he said, you have to see this. You have to read this. And he's like, no, you have to come over here. It was on Vancouver Island. He's like, you have to come over here and meet us. We want to rent you our home. And he gave us this executive home for $850. An atheist did this for us. The kindest thing anyone had ever done for us. Now, if I could have told him, I would have, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. He was always with my husband. We were always together but I just looked at him and went, wow, he's so nice and he's so normal. I wish I could open up. But my husband was always there. That's the only atheist I'd ever met. And he was so nice.
It's amazing how those little moments like make such a huge difference too.
Yeah.
Because like I had an experience where we had a staff party when I worked at Woolworths at this place called the Villa, which is this dirty old RSL type club in Australia. I don't know if you know any of those words. It's kind of like a bar / club, and and a bunch of the guys afterwards went out to like other clubs, and I followed along. I was like, yeah, I'm part of a group. Anyway, that word apparently got around that I went clubbing, and I was like hanging out at home, and I lived with stoners, and they were all smoking weed, and I felt like, I was feeling really miserable and bad that I had a couple of drinks when I was out. So I drove to church, which was just up the road, and I went there during the lunch break, and I walk in the door, and one of my friends there, actually, it was Colin, the first person I ever interviewed on this podcast.
Okay.
He goes, how was a big night the other night? And I was like, what? And he's like, I heard you went out clubbing. And I was like, couldn't even remember what I was like. What? I didn't even like put it together that I was clubbing. I was just like hanging out with, and I was like, oh, I was like, yeah, but it's not what you think. He's like, I'm sure it is. And then the associate passes next to him, and he's like looking at me like, you went clubbing. Then the associate pastor's wife comes in and said, "How's your big night the other night?" And like everyone was so judgmental, and I sat there eating my sushi, and I was like, "This sucks." Eating lunch with the staff, and then I come back home. I felt so. I was coming to church to feel lifted up and to feel encouraged, and like, look.
Oh yeah, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And I came back to my stoner friends. I'm sitting on the couch as they're passing the bong around the room, and they're all like, "Don't listen to him, Dave. You're awesome, man. Like, don't worry about it. Like, like, you're great. Like, you do so many good things." And I'm like, yeah. And it's just like, and you know, at one stage, I actually thought of that as like the tool of the devil. The atheists or the stoners were the ones who were encouraging, and my church friends. You know, there's no way to falsify any of this stuff. So it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Wow. So can we back up just a little bit? When you
do whatever you want, it's your show.
You're the guest. When you were a Christian, like a believing Christian, I'll say, were you one of the people rolling up and down the aisles? Did you speak in tongues? Did you?
I spoke in tongues, but what I did, I started as a very small child, and I mimicked my mom. So I don't remember anyone laying hands on me and praying for me to get the gift of it. I just remember I started mimicking my mom. And I just learned recently that that's common, that most people just sound like their parents when they're brought up in it. So, so I don't remember the first experience. I don't remember any of that. So I just mimicked my mom, and so I did that. No, I did not roll in the aisles. No, I did not do any of the crazy things. I always was very embarrassed. I was always scared to bring people to church. When I went to churches that did those crazy things, I was always super nervous that weird things were going to happen. I was.
Did you ever, like, would you say did you ever feel the presence of God? Did you ever have a relationship with God? I'm trying to kind of work out if you were kind of coming along for the ride and trying to fit in, but never kind of did.
Yeah, I tried. I really tried. I really tried. I tried to do all the right things, hoping that eventually I would feel it. I just felt like if I did all the right things, eventually, if God was there, he would reward me with the feelings, if that makes sense.
But do they, and they never came? Like, you never really
No, I never really felt like it was real. I really tried. I really tried. I tried to, instead of conforming to the world, I tried to conform to the church. Like, you know how they say, don't act like the world? I really tried to act like the church.
Done it. Here we go, guys. Need to pour some more. This is actually really good. Not when you drink it as fast as I'm drinking it. I'm gonna get hammered.
Not on that water wine, you're not.
Oh, it's still 5-cent drinks, and I reckon I'll finish the bottle. Oh, maybe not. We'll see. I'll try.
Anyway.
Depends how many times you disconnect. You don't even have power problems. You're just pressing the exit button, and then
I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here.
Stacy's in the background. She's hacked into the computer, and she's
she's
so that's interesting. So I think if I remember correctly, Stacy was the type of Christian who was feeling it and was very much.
Stacy was the one I would sit back and be like, Ermagerd, I want to do this. And I remember my son always saying to me, I'm really sorry I'm not like Stacy. And if I said it once, I said it 100 times. I said to him, Lance, nobody's like Stacy. Stacy's the weird one. I'm more like you. I said, I don't apologize for not being like Stacy. I don't even understand Stacy. And I said to him so many times, you're like me. And I remember Stacy telling me when I finally came out to her saying to me, I could never understand why you would say, Lance, I'm more like you than you realize. And now that we've had all of our talks, she's like, that makes more sense now why you would always say, Lance, I'm more like you. Because I was. And we have had so many talks now. And that's why you would do this. And that's why you would say that. And I'm like, yeah. Because I just lived so long in what Durante calls the prayer closet. I've just called it the closet. Oh my God. When she finally came out and told me, I don't believe in God, I'm like, oh my God, thank God. And she was like, what? I mean, how many kids tell their Christian parents, yeah, I don't believe in God anymore, and their parents are like overjoyed? That was me.
Well, that's such a pinnacle moment in both your stories, I guess.
Yeah.
We actually had a super chat, another thank you from Stacy. It's actually from Harrison.
From Harrison.
The super chat is from Harrison. Thank you, Harrison.
Thank you, Harrison. She's not lying, Stacy says.
So I've heard this from Stacy's perspective, but can you lead us through what happened from your perspective? So Stacy's this on fire Christian. You're at this stage closeted for 30 plus years, like going to church still and just kind of.
No, I wasn't going to church. I hadn't gone to church for years.
Okay.
Like I would go every once in a while. My husband and I had owned a business. Actually, we owned a couple of businesses that we had to work on Sundays, which was so, yeah. Occasionally I would come to church if I could. I'd show up and kind of slink in and then sit there, and I'd keep my head down. I'd put my head down on my lap and kind of look all holy and spiritual, like, oh, I'm totally getting into this. And Stacy'd be up there like, and I'm like, occasionally I'd stand there and put my hands up and try to look all like I'm not bored out of my mind. And anyway, but okay. So I moved here to where we live now a few months before Stacy and Brian did. Okay. And I loved it because there was nobody here. My mom was living here, but my mom, again, was not going to church, and she used whatever reason to not go. My mom is on again, off again all the time. And she used the excuse, well, church is just a warehouse for Christians. They're not really following the Lord the way they should. And it's just meh, meh, meh. And every time my mom would go to a church, she would turn everybody off because she's got this SOS pad personality. It's very abrasive. So she just turned everybody off anyway. So she just stopped going to church altogether. If my mom can't lead the church, she doesn't want to go. She's just that kind of a personality. So she wasn't going to church here. So I moved here. Her husband was dying of cancer, and I came and helped because my mom had physical issues. He was dying of cancer. So I came to kind of help look after her, kind of help look after him. And when I wasn't needed there, I was kind of like living my own life here. It was awesome. And then Stacy and Brian bought a house here, and I was not happy that they were moving here because I finally was coming into my own. I was separated, filed for divorce, and I had freedom here, and I had my own life. And then Stacy says, can you go look at some houses for us? We're going to move there. And I was like, yay. Cool. Yay.
Yeah. That's so funny because that's not what I would have imagined, knowing what your relationship is like.
Oh, we're so close. Like we're close, but I didn't want, because then the next thing was, the next thing was, and I want you to, can you start looking at churches for us? Can you go? Yay.
Nope, they all suck.
And it was during COVID.
Oh, so right.
She was sending me to like underground churches that were sneakily meeting.
Oh, Stacy, that's naughty. That is naughty.
It was kind of, now it makes for fun stories, but it was, oh my gosh. Because the churches that were meeting, They were anti-vax. They were like, you don't have to wear a mask if you come here because COVID's a conspiracy. And
Mm,
okay, so anyway, Stacy didn't believe in that though. Like, I mean,
yeah.
her husband has
I'm,
a brain.
I'm not saying that we should bring back public flogging, but maybe if we started
Public.
the anti-vaxxers, maybe it would send a message to the rest of the conspiracy theorist people.
The very first guy I dated when my divorce was final, he was not great, but he did say something funny. We were driving by a park one day and they were having a public protest. And he's like, I just want to gas them all and then vaccinate them all. And then when they wake up, say, you're all vaccinated. I was like, okay, that's pretty
great.
cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have a fantasy of running around with like a little needle with vaccines and just jabbing
like,
people. Vax. Yeah.
Anyways, so I wasn't thrilled that they were moving here because I was really enjoying my newfound freedom of just I had coffee shops I went to. I was like I was just being myself with no strings attached. I was just being me. And then Stacy and Brian were moving here and she wanted me to check out churches and I was like, oh crap. So there's that. So I went to a few churches and I made her go to churches. She did. She says, I'm laughing so hard. And we can laugh now, but at the time, there was one church I sat in the back row, David. I wept.
Not for the right reasons, I imagine.
Not for the right
Not
reasons.
because Jesus was touching your heart. Yeah.
I wept. I sat there and cried. And the pastor and his wife came over and like, oh my goodness. Like they thought I was crying because I sat there and cried because I was like, fuck. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I hate my life. I'm going to have to start going to church. I won't have an excuse. I don't own businesses. I can't. What the fuck am I going to do? Right. Anyway. So then Stacy got here and she started deconstructing unbeknownst to me and lost interest in finding a church. And
isn't that interesting though? Because it seems to have happened when she couldn't attend church with the worship and all that, right?
Yeah.
I wonder how many people deconstructed those very same reasons.
I think a lot. But so what happened was my divorce was going through and I started dating and did you lose me again?
I think it's about to go.
Oh boy. Okay, I'll click back on if you lose me. Can you?
Okay. Oh, yeah, there we go. Well, thanks everyone. Thank you, Pragmatic Crystal, for shouting out the Patreon. Your support from everyone keeps this show running, and super chats, I really appreciate it. And, oh, sorry, I got to drink my D's back.
You're going to change the show to D drinks.
D drinks, that's it. Are we both doing shots now? Like big sips every time? Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, so I started dating, and I don't think at that point, Stacy can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Stacy, when I started dating Walter, no, she hadn't deconstructed yet. No, she hadn't because that's when, okay, this is funny. This is a good story. She was taking her boys to a church, after school church. She was homeschooling because she didn't want them going to school. She was homeschooling and she was taking them to an after school thing. And we were going to pick them up after. And while we're driving, she's talking about how there's so many Christians are hypocrites. And I just can't stand so many Christians are just hypocrites. And she's going on and on and on. And I'm thinking, oh my God, she knows I slept with Walter.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was the first time I'd slept with anybody since I wasn't married. Right?
Yeah.
And I really liked Walter. And I was like, oh my God, she's talking about me. I started feeling like, oh my God. So she's driving down the road and we're going to get the boys. And she's going on and on and on about hypocrites and how Christians and how hypocritical they are. So I go, this is what I did. Okay. I went, she's driving there and I'm in the passenger and I went, Stacy, I'm having sex. She's driving and she goes, what? She nearly drove off the road, David. It was hilarious.
Oh.
So then she has to roll down the window and stick her head out the window to breathe. I wish I could live that moment over and over and over. And we need to make a movie or something. And
That's so good.
So then she pulls into the parking lot of the church to pick up the kids. It was amazing. I love this moment so much. And she's like, she has the window rolled down and she's breathing. She's taking like deep breaths. And I'm just like,
she's like hyperventilating almost. Yes.
She goes, I go, are you disappointed in me? And she's like, she looks at me and then she goes back out the window and I go, are you disappointed in me? And she looks at me again and she's like, oh my God. And then and I go, Stacy, are you disappointed in me? And she's like, no. She looks at me again. I guess she's picturing me having sex or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
She's like, no. And then she's like, okay, this is so weird because just the other day, Brian says to me, I really hope your mom doesn't think she has to get married to have sex. I hope she just dates and has sex. And she goes, oh no, my mom would never do that.
That's so good. That's such a funny story.
It was so good. Anyways, so she goes in to get the boys. She brings them back out. We have to drive in silence because the boys are now in the back seat. And every so often she's driving and she's just looking at me and I'm just like, and we can't say anything. So then she drops me off back at my car or something and I go home. Apparently she goes home. It's only like 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon. She walks in the house. Brian's doing renovations on the kitchen. She just walks in the house, goes to the counter or the kitchen cabinet, gets a wine glass out, goes to the fridge, pulls out the wine, pours herself some wine, slams it down, slams back the wine. And Brian's just working on the kitchen and she slams back the wine and he goes, so what's going on? And she's like, my mom's having sex. And you know what he says?
What?
Oh, good for mommy.
That's so good. That's so good.
Oh my God. I love that story so much.
Do you know, it reminds me when I grew up in church culture and when someone was like gay or whatever, it'd be like, you gay. Like it was like you whisper it, like how older folks go, I heard they're going to therapy. Like therapy is so like scary, and this generation's like, oh, I went to therapist. But I remember talking to a friend who had never been involved in church before, and they were telling me, like, we're talking about sex or something, and they said like, oh, I like this, and I said, oh, and I said, so wait, so would you consider yourself like bisexual or like pansexual? And he said, what's pansexual? And I said, I think it's like where you're not necessarily attracted to both sexes, but this could be wrong, but you're attracted to, like, I guess, the person despite their gender or sex.
Right.
And he said, yeah, that's it. And I went, oh, okay, cool. And then we just kind of continued on the conversation. And it was so weird. It was like him just describing his favorite flavor of ice cream. It was just like, oh yeah, I like chocolate and I like vanilla. And that was it. Where I was so used to it being like a dun dun dun, like, oh, yeah, you're a gay, like you're a lesbian. Like it was so refreshing, actually. It was just like such a little deal.
It's so cool.
Like he hadn't even considered it. Like he hadn't even. Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, it must be, yeah. Like it was, and I was like, damn, this is what not growing up in purity culture looks like.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you though.
Yep.
Because I guess you had post-marital sex, and premarital sex. Which is better, premarital sex or postmarital sex?
Sex is just great.
Because I always say to Amy that there was, because we didn't have sex before we were married. Well, sorry, we didn't have penis and vagina sex before we were married.
Oh
but we
yeah.
did
Okay. I'm
lots of
glad
other
you
stuff.
clarified that.
Yeah, because we did lots of other stuff.
I watched
And-
your whole 2 shows you did, the whole sex panel. You need to have
And
older women on the next one.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I didn't.
Stacy, look at Stacy.
like, it was-
Look what Stacy said, David. This is when Brian plugs his ears. We talk about sex in front of Brian all the time. He's like, so.
That's so good. So, I lost my train of thought.
Amy.
Oh yeah, we did like, yeah, but I always found that like the stuff that we weren't supposed to be doing, like,
Right.
so like, because we weren't supposed to be kind of hooking up a little bit, like making out and other stuff, shaking each other's hands and whatever else you do. That was like almost a little bit more interesting because you were kind of like,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be doing it. And I was like kind of bummed that I'm glad we waited and everything. Like it's cute. It's part of our story. But at the same time, like that was really fun. We should have like enjoyed that more as well.
Yeah.
But so glad that we actually match as well. Like imagine if you did wait till you're married and then you're like clashing teeth and you're just both like feeling it. And
Okay.
yeah.
So in my last marriage with the really nice man, we waited till we were married. Big mistake. We were not compatible.
Oh, okay.
And we were like it was like living with my best friend. We might as well have just been roommates. We were married 18 years and our sex life was pretty much non-existent. So
Wow.
we got along so well. We still do. We still love each other. Every text message or phone call we have still ends with love you too, always love you. But we would have been better off as just best friends.
Was it all romantic stuff or was it just the sexual chemistry? Like, could you guys go on an amazing date and then when you guys...
There was no hand holding, nothing. We're just besties.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So how do you go from how does Stacy and you go from drinking, like Stacy slamming wine? Oh, here we go. Another big drink. Oh, what is everyone else drinking? All right, D is back.
Okay, how does Stacy drinking what?
What?
You said, how did you and Stacy go from drinking?
Oh, how did Stacy and your
Little. I better.
How does Stacy and yourself go from, like, how does Stacy go from, oh my god, my mum's having sex, shock, to eventually Stacy confessing to you that she's no longer she doesn't know God exists, and then
so when I first started dating, I said to her, I was kind of feeling around and I said to her, I'm on the dating sites and there really isn't any Christian guys on the dating site. I didn't want to date Christians. And what's interesting is even when she started dating, when she was a teenager, I said, don't date Christians. Christians are weird. Do not date Christians. Do not date guys in church. And she was like, yeah, I agree. So even back then, she should have clued in I wasn't a Christian. She didn't. But anyway, so she was actually deconstructing even back then. And because she said to me, well, don't date Christians then. Right. So she was even kind of tiptoeing around the subject of deconstructing. She just wasn't coming right out and saying something. Now, she did say to me, I'm kind of questioning my beliefs right now, but I do this every couple of years and it's okay. I'll come back. And she's right. She did do this every couple of years, but this time she tugged that thread and just kept tugging. And that's what happened. And she did every couple of years. She would start to question whether she believed any of it. But what she would normally do is immerse herself in sermons. She would just find a bunch of sermons to listen to online and just saturate herself with sermons. This time she didn't do that. So that's what happened.
That's a very human response, I think. I think even atheists will do it. I remember Tom watched one of my discussions with a Christian, and I'm on Deep Drinks. I try to be very open with the conversation. I try not to like push back too hard. And at the end of the conversation, he messaged me. He's like, that was so infuriating. I got to go watch Hitchens or Dawkins like slam some Christians for a little while because that was so annoying to listen to. And I think that's a very normal, protective mechanism.
Yeah.
So then when she finally told you that she no longer believed, what was your response?
Literally, finally, oh my God, I haven't believed in X amount of years. It's been so hard for me. Yay. And she just sat there. What? Yeah, that's what it was. I said, I haven't believed in so long. I've had nobody to talk to. Okay, yay, I'm happy. And it was in a coffee shop, a place here.
It was in a coffee shop. I always imagined it was at your house.
No, because I was, I think I was house sitting at the time. Yeah, I was house sitting. Yeah, I was house sitting. So she called me up and said, can we meet for coffee tomorrow? And we met at a coffee shop here, and we did. And she started kind of rambling and just tripping over her words. And I said, will you just get to the point? Like, what is going on? And she said, okay, I don't think I believe in God anymore. And I went, oh, that's awesome. Yay. And I was just like, the floodgates finally, after all this time, I had someone close to me, well, like the closest person in my entire life, that she's the last person I would have thought, like the last person I would have thought would ever say those words. I don't believe in God. Like literally the last person on the face of the earth that I ever thought would have said that. Like, oh my goodness. I was so overjoyed. I will never forget that.
A recording of that conversation, because what did you guys talk about after that? Like, did you talk about like, the holes in the Bible, or Bart Ehrman says this, or like, do you remember at all?
Oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe it's time for Stacy to come down. Stacy, come down, bring a chair, because she was going to come in near the end. She can do, because my memory is like Swiss cheese. Oh, it was amazing though. I just remember being so happy, David. Just imagine all those years of me being like, oh my God. And then I could just tell her everything, like, holy shit. Now I can be myself and I can swear. There we go.
I can swear.
Oh yeah, the chair's there. Okay.
Stacy, you've got to do a few shots.
Yeah, you got to do some shots.
You got to do some shots because it's cut out so much.
Yeah. Yay. Okay. And here is my other half.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Angie says you have no end of things to talk about. Hi. Oh, I'm trying to think.
Oh, it's just a blur for me.
What kinds of things? What did we talk about?
Okay. After I said that, oh my God.
We talked about, I've been watching like,
I know.
Everyone's seen me like so much, but it was so liberating because I like I said in the chat, I thought I was going to shock you, but you shocked me.
Yeah.
And how I started it was I just wanted to tell her about everything that I had learned, because I had been learning so much for a couple of months, and I wanted to just give you like all the facts that I had come across. And for me, it was factual.
Yeah.
And
what were those facts? Do you remember what those were?
Yeah, it was like the Noah's Ark myth.
I forgot about that's such a good one, isn't it?
That's a big one. That was definitely a big one for me. It was that, and we just kept talking, and she's like, well, how do you feel about this now? How do you feel? Like all these really big topic issues, and we got to like the heart of a lot of really controversial things like LGBTQ. Like that was one thing.
Oh yeah, because I had been in the closet about being okay with all of that.
Yeah,
like
she
so long.
Yeah, and I
You
said,
were a closet atheist and a closet ally. That
Yes,
I don't know many people who are closet allies. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
yeah.
well, no, I wouldn't even say she was a closet.
No, I
she was
wasn't in the
always
closet
very-
about that. I was
No.
really open about it, but I had to be so.
She was like a covert
Yeah,
ally.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
so then I said to her, I was like, well, I've always, because of the church, I felt like I had to almost like suppress that. To be a good Christian, I had to suppress it.
yeah.
And I think it was just that cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
And so we talked about that. And I was like, honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I was finally free to say all those things. And we finally were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Doesn't it
Oh,
feel
this feels
good?
so good. And I remember we walked through the mall right after that. And we just normally walk through the mall, whatever. But I remember we were like holding arms, and we're just like, oh my God, this feels incredible. Like what's happening
It's
right
like a
now?
whole being born again.
Yeah. And that's how it felt. So
Yeah.
we were kind of like on this cloud nine, and I had told my husband the night before everything, and which is unusual, because usually I would tell my mom everything first, but I had actually told my husband everything first. And so she was the second person I had come and told it to.
Oh,
and so
Can I just compliment? Like, I just imagine Brian for such a long chunk of his life.
oh my god.
oh my God.
Oh, hang on. It's gonna. Oh, here we go. I got a drink. I curse like a sailor. Fragment crystal. Yeah.
I
Back.
see the issue. It says your version of Chrome has a bug that causes virtual backgrounds and the thing to crash. So I might have to update my Chrome.
Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, because I just imagine Brian for so much of his like life, his married life, and everything, just smiling and nodding through like stuff that he doesn't necessarily.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's so awesome. It's so. I mean,
Brian is the epitome of unconditional love.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Wow. So you guys describe it almost like a born again experience, but I guess the opposite. The way I describe it for myself was like it was really scary and confrontational and heartbreaking. Like I really hated losing a lot of what I lost, but at the same time, it was like stepping out into an alien planet that felt familiar but was different. So it's like I would look at evolution and like learn about evolution or the Big Bang, and I'd be like, "What? This really happened? Like what?"
Yeah.
Or like I could pick up a fossil in my hand, and I'm like, "This is 60 million years old." Or like I could look at, we had a dog, a beagle, and we got his nuts cut off, dissected, and I just thought, 3.4 billion years of evolution. His like line has, and we just cut him off because we didn't want him to deal with the humping of cushions or the boisterousness. So I'm like, that is wild to me. Like that 3.4 billion years or however 3.5, however long it is, of this one like genome that's just successfully grown all the way into our beagle, and we're just like, let's get his nuts cut off. I
love how you think,
almost
David.
became spiritual. It almost became not the cutting off the nuts, but it almost became, like a big, like learning about the world became like a big thing.
Yeah.
We have a $20 super chat from the Pope.
Oh, Aaron! I love Aaron.
Aaron Colson, $20. Thank you, Stacy. On your recent 1500 subscriber stream, felt confident enough to express that she supports a woman's right to choose. What's it been like watching Stacy's journey since she told you that she didn't
Okay. I watch every single interview my daughter does. If she does it live, she doesn't even watch them.
No.
If it's live, I watch them. If they're not done live, the minute they're released, I watch them. I share them. I rewatch them. I am the proudest. It's like as far as I'm concerned, she should have a star on the Walk of Fame. That's how proud I am.
That's a
No,
good,
I
good
brag
mom.
about her everywhere. And she has said since she was a little girl that she wanted to be famous, literally, but she didn't want to be a movie star. That's what's so weird. She's ever since she was tiny, I want to be famous, but I don't want to be in the movies. I'm like, well, how are you going to do that? I don't know. And she's doing it for good reason now. So I'm just so proud. Erin, I am so proud of her.
So
I brag about her everywhere.
What's it been like watching my journey?
It's been like watching her become famous. I just love it. I'm proud. I'm the proudest mommy ever. You've never... I brag about her everywhere. So it's been amazing.
It's also probably been super weird to just like, no, but like see me doing it in this context. Like
it hasn't been weird though.
But for not believing in God.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm sorry. To me, okay, it was a relief for me. I guess it would have been weird if I still believed.
Oh, that's
because
true.
I just took that.
True.
I took that
true.
sigh of relief. And it's been like gangbusters.
Oh, that's true. It has been.
Yeah.
That's true.
It would be weird for me. It would have been weird. And
like
I just took a sigh of relief and here we are.
Because we've talked so much about like, oh, there was like with you that, oh, there was this sign. There was this sign. I was like, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think it's been more weird for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's been wonderful. It's been amazing.
Well,
and yes.
Well, I'm really glad we have you here, Stacy, because maybe you could help. Because I want to move into a section where we talk a little bit about advice. Because I've had people reach out to me numerous times, but most recently I had this really long Discord DM from someone, basically saying that they fear about losing their family, but they also don't want to live. They want to live authentically. They don't want to live inauthentically. They want to live authentically, and they can't. Yeah. They don't know what to do, and that's a big problem that I had with a lot of Amy's family. Is Amy wasn't ready to, I guess, come out to her family, but I felt like really like it was affecting our relationship because I couldn't be myself. I couldn't be like, I learned this really cool new thing, or I did this cool thing on my channel. But before we get into the advice section, let me just shout out your channel, Stacy's.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can see Amy and Eyes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Why are we so dark in that episode? That's so
I don't
weird.
know. You didn't have your new lights, maybe.
I don't know.
We need to do another one.
That's amazing.
Anytime. But
let's do another one.
What's coming up, more importantly, is you guys have a happy birthday stream in 19 hours. Yeah. So you're turning 20 and 30, is that right?
Well, if she's turning 20, that would mean I was 40. But
okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Stacy turned 40 last week, and I already spilled the beans. I'm turning 60 in March.
Yep. So we're doing a joint live stream tomorrow.
So together we're 100.
Oh, that's crazy. That is
we have 100 years between us. So I gave birth to Stacy just a couple weeks before I turned 20. I was still technically 19, but that's what you do when you're Christian. You just push babies out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have some friends that have many children.
Many children. Okay. Before we move on, I want to say something though. This has been awesome. I don't want it to seem like though it's been all sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. She has a brother. I've mentioned him a couple of times, and he is not in our lives anymore at the moment. I'm not saying that's forever, but his reality is his reality, and sometimes his reality doesn't match up with our reality. And his memory is he was made to feel guilty for not going to church. We don't remember that, but he's upset with us now for not being Christian.
Okay. So, all right. because I wanted to ask you about this because it's my understanding that
Mm.
he's not a Christian, right?
Technically, no.
No, but he's well, would he say he's a Christian?
He would say he
probably
is.
would if it
He
was
would say he
like
believes
the
in
rubber
God.
hit the road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
hmm
So since I guess coming out, I guess you guys have lost a family member essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did that first happen, if you don't mind me prying?
Well, I'm actually really excited to share this with my brother.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, like maybe we'll actually really connect in this way.
Yeah.
Because my brother and I don't know, we just were looking for a way to
When part of Stacy's deconstruction was she first left charismatic Christianity,
Mhm.
and he was really happy about that because he never believed in the
like the
charismania.
craziness of it. And
And-
we connected in that way. And he's like, I never believed in any of that. And I was like, yeah, it like I'm realizing that was all like crazy. He's like, yeah, that's what I was saying when I was like 14. And I'm like, I'm realizing that now. And then when I actually deconverted completely, I was really excited to share that with him. And so I thought we would really connect in that way. And then at first it seemed like we were kind of coming to terms with that together. And then after a while, he just kind of turned and was angry. So
yeah.
it was a very strange response that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
So anyways.
So yeah. So it's not all great.
Yeah, like I'm a happy person by nature. And
So am I.
Yeah. And so I like when I'm on shows and stuff, like I'm a very energetic person, but that's been one thing that's been kind of like just behind the scenes has been kind of like rough to just sort of be like, okay, I have lost someone that's close to me, and he hasn't been very kind about it, but I'm also realizing I can put up
that boundary sometimes.
Yeah.
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 So how long has it been, I guess, since you guys have had contact?
The last time I had contact was in October, but before that was a year. It was last February, so like about a year, really.
When you asked, does he give an answer of why things are shaky, or is it a bit complicated?
I don't really know. He just
sends the odd unkind message. So we've just said we're not interested.
I just put up boundaries and So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can't think of anyone more perfect to answer these questions then, because you've had the extremes, I guess, of both situations. So what would you say to someone who's afraid of living? They want to live an authentic life, but they no longer believe, and they know it'll affect their. Let's just hypothetically say we know that it'll affect their family. What advice would you give them?
I think being authentic is definitely the way to be, but also know that boundaries are okay, because I think in the church you're told, oh, you have to forgive. How many times are you told to forgive in the church? 70 times 7
a day.
Yeah. And so it's obviously, I'm not saying don't forgive, but also you can forgive, but also have those boundaries. And that's an okay thing to have.
Yeah.
So I have boundaries. I'm not what you look kind of like, wait, I don't know what you're saying.
Guys, I think I just found a cheat code for this. When you're confessing that you no longer believe, ask them for the forgiveness that you no longer believe, because then they have to, right? Because otherwise they're not a Christian. But then they.
I was like, what does that look? You're like, wait, what is she saying?
I just found the cheat code, so that's what you do. You ask forgiveness that you no longer believe. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But
I'm
honestly,
sorry.
like I think you can forgive the person, but that doesn't mean like you have to.
You don't become their
have
doormat
them back in your life.
Yeah.
So I have no resentment. I'm not having any animosity, but it's also like I need to have those boundaries up. It doesn't mean like you get to have, access to my life at all times just because
we're related. If every interaction leaves you feeling like.
Ding dong. Dun, 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 dun. Oh no, there's two versions. We're back.
Oh, we hear it.
So-
Uh-oh.
If every interaction leaves you feeling like absolute shit, that's toxic. It doesn't matter who it is.
And I was saying the other day to my mom, I said, a lot of times people will say with with parents, it's totally acceptable to have those boundaries with parents who have not been good parents.
Because I was saying, I feel guilty for not feeling guilty, and it's my son. And then
I said, it's not often talked about with other relationships to have those boundaries. So it's like you can have parents who might not be great, but like there's other relationships in your life, and it can be it goes both ways. So, yeah. Anyways,
so I have thoughts on coming out. It's funny because when we decided, we didn't decide to necessarily come out. What happened is Colin, first guest on Deep Drinks, he wanted to support the channel. So he's like, I sent your podcast to everybody. And he's like, I sent it to this. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I told we're in this like backyard kiddie pool that we bought. And I told Amy, I was like, 20 minutes ago, Colin, whatever. And she goes, oh, and I go, do you want me to tell him to take it down? And she's like, no, whatever. And then all of a sudden I get a message from my sister-in-law saying, oh my God, Deep Drinks. And I was like, haha, yeah. And she's like, she goes, it's amazing, Queen. Because I always say like, yes, Queen to her or whatever. Like,
yeah.
And she goes, it's amazing. And I was like, oh, and she's like, why didn't you tell us? And I was like, I don't really want to, I know that a lot of the content would conflict with a lot of your ideas and stuff. She was really supportive. A lot of the other family members weren't necessarily supportive. They weren't aggressive, but what I really found was before that, when they had the inklings that we were no longer Christian, it was very much worse. It was like confrontational. It was little like things that were slipped in. I remember doing yard work or work with someone in the family, and they would say stuff like, God's really gifted the German people with a craft for building tools. And like, I've had these tools, like everything was about God. And then when I finally came to like a whole discussion about whether or not Michelle Obama is trans, which was a conversation I actually had.
I remember that. People say that.
One of the questions they asked me was, do you believe in the devil? And I said, no. And then at the end of that conversation, like, they're like, well, there you go. And they were saying like, well, there you go. The devil, we believe the devil is using transgender ideology to teach the kids, or whatever. But at the end of that conversation, because I was just upfront and honest, no, I don't believe that. It's ridiculous. And although like half the family left the room and it was me arguing with a few people, we hugged it out at the end. Things were okay. And I think knowing where I was at was actually probably better than kind of like dragging them through the mud for so long, like them not knowing. But in saying that, we had many moments of tears of when we're being very ambiguous, of frustration, of anger, of fear. So what I really want to say is, I'm getting to the point. Sorry.
No,
Matt Dillahunty said this, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he said that when you first deconstruct, it's a shock to people that love and care for you. I mean, it was a shock for you, Stacy, when you found out your mum was having sex, not because of any other reason, but it probably just shifted your perspective of her identity, which then affected your identity. So it's like this, everything is like kind of linked. It's like finding out your neighbor's a murderer. It's like, whoa, like, you don't know them very well.
Oh, it's exactly like that.
Yeah, sorry.
Exactly like that.
That was a bad analogy. I didn't mean it like that.
I phone Dateline.
But it's so it's this. But so the advice is, let them be as angry and as aggressive. Give them a year. Just get it all out. Proselytize you, send you stuff, ask questions back. Tell them like, oh, so they found Noah's Ark. It's like, okay. And then ask them questions about that. How do they know? Like, and eventually. But after a year or however long you want it to be, 6 weeks, 6 months, draw a line in the sand and say, look, I'm not willing to let you proselytize to me anymore. If you want to have a conversation, or you want to tell them about something, you're going to have to I'm not comfortable in these areas, I'm comfortable in these areas. And I think that's a pretty fair approach, because I think you need to expect that people are going to be kind of shock and awe for a little while. And if you can just embrace that period and let them ask questions and let them tell you about things, and you just sit there and be calm and collected. It's very hard, especially if you're a new angry atheist, but I think that's a good way to approach everything. Sorry.
No.
Okay.
I'm laughing at Aaron's comment. Stacy's mom had sex on the boat.
Yeah.
But yes.
Okay.
Okay, hold up. My brother didn't proselytize to me or us. His message to me was, put me on your podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was just super aggressive.
Yeah. He was like, you talked about me, put me on your show. It's like, no.
Yeah. So anyway.
Okay. So, Seth's latest, The Thinking Atheist, one called, what just happened to it? It's called Letter to a Christian Spouse. Everybody should go watch it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's not just to a Christian spouse.
And he said, it doesn't matter what the title of this is. It's not just to a Christian spouse. He's speaking to Christian family members and friends of atheists. It is amazing. I posted it on my Facebook. It is so good. He is just really the kindest man. I totally love this guy. Anyway, so The Thinking Atheist, Letter to a Christian Spouse. Everybody, when this is over,
pretty sure Crystal just posted.
Pop over.
Link.
Oh, hey, thank you.
Sure.
Okay,
that's the link.
Everybody watch that. It is so good. And you could all post it on your page or send it to someone in your family who maybe still be it's just so good. He's and so kind and thoughtful, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's just really good.
If my mum's watching, here's the one with the really nice voice that you said has a really nice voice.
Yeah.
Yes, Sylvia.
Look, there are two people with really nice voices on your podcast, Seth Andrews and Reed Nicewonder.
And pretty soon
Durante.
Wait,
she hasn't heard Durante. She's gonna.
Durante's coming.
Durante.
Durante's
oh my goodness, she's gonna love Durante. Anyway.
Oh, Brian. Pragmatic Crystal is pro.
Isn't she? Yeah. Crystal. I call Crystal the omnipresent mod.
She's everywhere. It's just amazing.
She's literally everywhere. I don't know how I think she's like 20 people.
We love her.
We love you. Crystal.
Dee, what advice would you give to your younger closeted self? Would you have come out earlier?
Yes, I would have. Number one, hi Sylvia, number one, to save my daughter so much anxiety and so much stress. I would do that for her. And number two, to salvage the relationship with my son, what's going on right now. Because even though I didn't put pressure on him to not be accused of it right now, I think it might have helped, because she put the pressure on herself to be perfect. And then he put the pressure on himself to be like me, to be like Stacy. So I would do it just for my kids. And
how would you do it? Let's say you stop believing, because it's usually like a very gradual process, right?
Okay,
that's a good question.
What I would have done, I wish I would have I tried a couple of times to break away from my mother, but I did it the wrong way, and people just thought I was losing my mind. Literally. People just thought she's having a nervous breakdown or something. She's just losing it. I just didn't know how to break away from my mother. And I did try a couple of times, and then I just, my mother was a very controlling, domineering.
Yeah. That's a good word.
Yeah. I just needed to break away from my mother a lot sooner than I did. And I felt some kind of sense of responsibility, I think, as the oldest child, to hang in there with her my brother and my sister were a lot smarter in that area. They were able to get away from her. And I just felt like, well, I'm the last one standing. I got to hang in there. And I didn't have to. She didn't deserve she didn't deserve my loyalty. And I really felt like I owed it to her. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just my personality. I'm a born people pleaser. So, Christian or not Christian, I'm a nice person. To my own detriment sometimes.
And she's great. Manipulative. Yeah.
Yeah, she's very manipulative, my mother. Yeah.
So coming out to like Stacy, like how would you do that if you were to like tell her?
Yeah, how would you tell me?
Like,
I'm having sex.
I should have known.
You should have known.
But I was so on the cusp. I was right there.
Yeah.
That conversation that I had with you in the car, like you guys, I was upstairs howling. But that was
when I just told you now.
Yeah. But that was my kind of like, I don't think I believe. That was my sort of like, I am so close to not believing. I'm holding on by a thread right now.
Yeah.
And that was my way of being like, saying how I don't think Christians are I was thinking they're hypocritical and da. And I was just like,
okay, so if you were
something.
actually like so if I had said that when you were living in Surrey and going to church and you were like,
I didn't have my hands up.
But if you were, if
I was at a Reformed church.
But if I got you right in the thick of when you were,
I would have been, I don't know. I would have been like, wait, what? I would have investigated because I'm the kind of person that like, if someone changes something, I want to be like, wait, what did they find out? Because
I found out sex was really good.
No, I know. But like,
and that's when Stacy started having sex with Brian.
That's what I'm talking about. No, that's what I'm talking about though.
No, but I'm saying, because even I have a friend and she and I are like, we're friends on Instagram and we're more acquaintances in person.
Yeah.
And she was a very strong Christian and she started posting her deconstruction on Instagram.
Right.
It grabbed me enough that I started following her posts.
Okay.
Because I'm like, what is she finding out? And I was like almost wanting to debunk it.
Okay.
And I was like, wait, this is making sense. So her deconstruction started kind of like, picking away at me. So like, if you would have said something to me, I would have been like, hold on.
Okay.
I need to investigate this. But at the same time, I'm almost glad she didn't tell me because everyone convinces us of having the exact same mind.
That's true.
And if she would have come out first,
everyone would have said, oh, you're just doing it because your mom did. That's true.
And my husband is so sweet. Yes. And so he was the person I was going to.
Yeah, that's true.
And kind of like saying
so many people accuse her of doing things just because I do. It all happened the way it should have.
And so when I finally did come out, he said to me, Brian, my husband, he said to me, he's like, I am so like, he was just so impressed because he's like, you came to all of this completely on your own. You were not like, influenced by a single person. And it's true. He's like, it's not like I started hanging out with a new friend that was like, hey, like I've just deconverted.
And actually, I became an atheist on my own too. I just couldn't tell anybody.
And he's like, this was all your critical thinking, your rational everything. And so it was just in that way, it was really cool because
that's awesome.
And I'm actually really glad. Like, I'm glad that I'm not glad that you had to do this for so long.
Quietly,
But the fact that people have always just thought we have the same brain and we have the same opinion because we're close. I'm glad that I did this completely.
Like someone will get mad at me, David, and stop talking to her and vice versa.
Seriously.
Seriously. That's wild.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's
crazy.
So I'm just kind of like happy that it was a separate thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So
it happened the way it should have. I just wish.
So I have some exclusive footage of Stacy worshiping that I'm going to show. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh my god!
The video I took.
No, I'm not going to show
Totally
it. Of course
could
not.
have.
I don't
You
care.
No, Stacy
That
was
was so
had a couple of
funny.
wines the other night and sent myself and Durante
I did video.
a video
Oh my
saying
god,
that
that
was
was
showing her worshipping.
Oh, you can. I don't
She
care.
showed, yeah. She,
You
okay.
can. Now that you said it, I feel like the audience will
Oh.
be sad.
Oh, they
Alright.
would love that.
You need to.
Show it.
Okay, should we show some videos of
Explain.
drunk?
Give a
No,
backstory.
I wasn't drunk. Here's
No,
the
she
thing.
wasn't.
I wasn't. You had shown. I was not drunk.
You got to give the
But
backstory.
show it like halfway in the middle because.
All right, well, I've got to get it first. Hang on, let me.
Okay, so
You tell the story.
last week we had Durante on, and on Skeptic Haven, because David and I are co-hosts, and we had Durante on, who's in the chat. Hi, Durante. And we were talking about the song "Healer" from
By-
Hillsong,
yeah.
and I had it stuck in my head for the rest of the week, and I wanted.
Well, you had
to
our song stuck in your head. I don't know if it was that song.
No, I had "Healer" stuck in my head.
Okay.
So I went up to the Google in my living room and I was like, "Hey Google, play Healer," and it started playing the wrong song.
Durante's
show it.
like,
That's
show
right.
it.
And so I was like, "Play it," and I was like, "Wait, this isn't the song." And then it started playing another song, and I was like, "Wait, I know this song." It ended up not being the right song. It got me right into like the worship, and then I was like showing how I used to worship.
Yeah. Okay.
It
It's
was
so
a lot.
good.
Of fun. You don't have to show the whole thing. You can just show like
I'll just show. Oh,
It's so good.
it
I
is
was like,
by-
oh my God.
it is unlisted on my channel.
are you sure
But-
that you're like? Because
Yeah,
you said in
yeah.
the video, I don't want
said-
anyone to see this. You can't
well,
show
at
this.
the moment. At the
It's
moment.
Okay.
No, it is.
All right,
unlisted.
okay. right, here we go.
100%.
I might not be able to play the full audio because of
Oh,
copyrighted,
if you want to just like
You can mute it.
show it with no sound,
This is for educational
Okay.
purposes only.
you can
Okay.
like bring it through to
Can you
like.
hear it?
This is for research.
There, I said it's
Okay.
for research.
But bring it through. I was like, this isn't the song.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Yes, this is it.
This is so for our patrons.
We're not
So
showing it.
There was the hands out.
That's
Yeah.
not it.
I've gone right back into this. Like,
Totally right. She's also had one.
And then there's the.
I've never heard this song.
oh.
See, I never went to worship.
You can mute it so
And then-
you don't get copyrighted. Oh yeah, it's running.
And then there's the
up for
heart.
me.
Oh, there's the point. You had the
Oh, yeah.
point.
At the point, I would put my hand on my chest and point because I was
Oh my
too
God,
afraid.
look at Durante. I'm having flashbacks.
That's how I would. No, that's literally how I would like worship in church.
And the sway. Let's see the sway.
So look at my face. You kept doing
I
it.
know.
But I think what's amazing is you kind of like point out that you kind of miss worship because
My
the
mom said,
songs
I
are,
said, do you miss this? And she said, yes.
without a missing a I went, yes. I like that was, and she didn't like worship.
I
but
hated it.
Really did.
oh,
Yeah.
hang on, but we got
Yes, thank you, Aaron. Hand on the heart means you really. I did. I really meant it. Like I was just like, oh,
Ugh.
no,
well.
Well,
Let me
you know,
just-
I didn't like it.
Let me just share. So we got the video of D how you used to worship.
Oh, yeah,
because you
right.
sent
Oh,
that through.
We do.
Oh, this is so fun. And then I sent them yes.
Okay,
You-
Nitty, you and I could have worshipped together. Watch this.
So I sent him. I go. This is how my mom used to worship. Okay.
All
here
right,
we
here we go.
go. Okay, I love it.
Open it up.
Praise and worship.
Here's me.
I thought she was just being super holy.
And I was thinking, oh, fuck, let this be over.
I was not. I was like, let's just keep going because I love it. Holy Spirit, speak to me. We were very opposite.
Oh my God, I'm so bored.
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay.
So good. It's so good. I'm so glad we could show that to
Oh my
everyone.
God.
This is what we talk about.
Nitty, private chat.
Nitty and I would have snuck out and went and got ice cream.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh my God! look at that.
Michael
We got
Beverly,
you.
thank you
We
thank
got
you for
a
the 50
$50 super chat.
super chat. I miss worship until I discovered techno and party favors. Realizing
God.
that going to a club was better than church
I
was a
love it.
feeling.
Can I tell
Thank you so much. That's a,
Feeling.
Can I tell you that like right after that video, I went out to the bar
Oh yeah, she did.
for my
I
birthday.
stayed home and babysat, and she went out to the bar.
with my friend. Yeah.
that's so good.
And she partied with a guy who's like older than me.
He's like 70.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Oh, he's a friend from like
Friend
the
from
golf
here.
course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Came up for my birthday. Anyways, sorry, we're just like
Well,
Yeah.
Everyone make sure you come and check out the birthday stream
Tomorrow. We're gonna dress
It's
up
gonna be
pretty.
what
and
time
have
is it going to be?
balloons.
it
For
is
me,
at,
it's 10 a.m.
okay, 4
but-
p.m. Pacific time.
4 to 7 with lots of fun guests and some are surprises we don't even know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
Well, that's going to be exciting. So make sure you go over to the Stacy's Moms podcast and subscribe. Send an emoji of one of your favorite drinks, whether it's a martini or a
Ooh.
coffee or whatever, and then you guys will know that you come from Deep Drinks. But,
Yay!
Thank you so much for coming on, Dee and Stacy. Is there any last advice you would give to folks who are maybe deconstructing? And then we can end the show there.
If you're in the closet, just come out. It's worth it. Just don't be scared. Reach out to, even if it's online, reach out to one of us. Just all these people in the chat, they all care. Durante's amazing. Crystal's amazing. We're all amazing.
Well,
We're nice.
Nitty's not. I wouldn't call
Nitty.
Nitty though. Nitty's a bit.
Oh.
Ooh. No, I'm kidding. Nitty's amazing.
I'd hang out with Nitty. Just found out we have the same worship style. So there's that.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, no, honestly and truly, all kidding aside,
As scary as it might feel when you're
life is too short.
unsure.
Life is too short, and I wish I could get some of it back.
Mhm.
I actually have a question. When you
Okay.
another question. When you deconstructed, did that affect your worldview in regards to like how important, like how you wanted to live your life? For me, are you going? Bye.
Oh, what?
I'll finish. What a great way to end.
Hello. Oh, yeah.
So
Worldview. Oh, life. Yes.
yeah.
Well, for Stacy, she's like, oh my God, there isn't an afterlife. So I need to really enjoy all this. And then she got this, oh my God, if something happens to my kids, this is it, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
I was just always scared of hell. I was just, when I finally just last year stopped believing in hell, because even when I deconstructed, I was still scared of hell. I just stopped in hell like last May.
Mhm.
That's it. I'm just don't believe in hell anymore. Every so often, it still kind of creeps in a little bit. I'm not going to lie. It takes a long time for that pathway to,
Make a new pathway.
yeah. So
It's
Yeah.
funny because it did for me for such a long time as well. But recently I found myself loving the mythology around hell. So I get like excited, like I'm about to play a video game or something. Like, like wouldn't it be epic? Like, I don't know, but I know that a lot of people, even atheists of many years, like they never get over their fear of hell.
Yeah, yeah. Other than that, no, I'm sad that I'm sad that I'm turning 60 because I really have a lot less life ahead of me than Stacy does. And I'm sad about that. So that's about it.
But yeah, that's true. But there's so many, like, you can live so much in such a short amount of time if you're
I'm trying.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
I'm trying.
I remember when before we deconstructed, I said to Amy, I was reading the Love Wins or whatever, the book, and it was about heaven and hell. And I was like, what if there is no heaven and hell? And she's like, I don't like that. I don't like that thought. I don't like that thought. And then a few days later, she's like, if there is no heaven and hell, I want to make the most of this life. And I was
There
like,
you
yeah,
go.
right?
Yeah.
We went traveling and we did things, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's
We
been a
love
blast.
you so much.
This was a
We
fun
love
Love you
you
too.
and your wonderful family and your mom, and we just think you're fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
You know we love you.
Love you too. Well, I'll see you all next week. Next week we have Mind Shift on Brandon from Mind Shift. Which will be
Ooh,
cool.
amazing.
It's gonna be
Love
really
him.
good.
Great guest. Yeah.
See you later, guys. See you tomorrow
for letting me
at
crash.
Stacy's and Based Mom's podcast birthday party.
Yay.
Bye.
Yay. Tomorrow.